a good time. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can get started, because I've got some fun things planned and I don't want to run out of time. So you guys just keep on coming in and we'll have some fun. All right, let me get that put just right. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen and my face. Welcome to Reclaiming Your Greatest Asset, the one trait you need to embrace. So we'll be talking about that today. But before we get started, I want to go ahead and give you permission, if you will. Give yourself permission. Turn your phone on silent. Close out all your other tabs. If you can, throw the kids in the other room. Make this time a special time for yourself. We live in such a busy world that we oftentimes just rush from one project to another and one talk to another. And, you know, it's important to remember to stop and take a deep breath every now and then and really soak up the moment in front of you. And so I'm going to ask you to do that now so that you can get the most out of this 45 minutes. And in fact, I'll take a deep breath with you. Let's do another one. Okay, this is our time. I want you to enjoy yourself. This is meant to be fun, not stressful. So if you do have a question, we're going to have questions and answers at the end. You can pop that in the Q&A feature. It should be at the bottom of your screen. And if you're having any technical difficulties, trouble seeing or hearing me, you can use the chat feature for that. And Rochelle is on with us, and she's our tech support. So she can help answer any of those questions you have during the presentation. Additionally, because we're talking about your greatest asset, I'm going to need a volunteer a few minutes into the presentation. So if you are interested in volunteering, nothing crazy, nothing too embarrassing, I don't think, but a fun little exercise. I'm going to pick someone at random. If you're interested in that, you can use the raise your hand feature, and I will call upon someone when we get to that part. So today we're going to talk about what your greatest asset is and why you should tap into it. We're going to learn how to use this asset as a tool to help life expand so that you can become your biggest, brightest, most authentic version of yourself. We're going to talk about why this skill set is the most valuable thing you have. And we'll end today's presentation with a question and answer session. So if that sounds good, I'm going to dive in. So I don't think most of you know me. My name's Haley Hoover. I am founder, owner of The Sparkling Hippie. That's my brand, and my personality, not to mention. I'm an intuitive artist and a creative success coach. I help my clients discover their purpose through channeling intuitive guidance into a painting, as well as traditional coaching techniques. I'm also recently helping people launch their books out into the world if they have a message they want to share. And yeah, I'm into a whole bunch of stuff, as you will find out. But first, before I go too far into where I am now and what I'm doing now, I want to introduce you to someone really special. This is 4-year-old Haley. So this was at a very, very successful time in my life. I was a full-time princess, yet I still had plenty of time to travel around the world as a dancer and a singer. I performed with Shania Twain and Barney quite often. I was also an author and illustrator of about 15 different books, which I took to school for career day. My classmates were, doctors and stuff, and I had my packet of books that I had written and illustrated. I was very proud of myself. And I was also a professional artist. So this was probably the top of my game. I really peaked out young, you guys. And I was also, you know, a ballerina on the side. So great times. It was a great time in my life. And then, you know, I grew up, I got a little older. I hit the teenage phase in which I became a cheerleader and started hearing adults telling me, you know, you're not really going to make a living writing, and you can't really make a living painting. So let's be a little more sensible about things. And so I kind of started falling into the crowd, doing what everyone else was doing and what people were recommending for my life, because I wanted to be a good girl, of course, like many of us do. And that led me to get a degree in public relations, in which case I started my first big girl job around age 21, and I was the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce at my hometown. And while it was super fun, jazzing around town with my heels and pencil skirts, and I hosted a radio show twice a week, and I was in the newspaper every week, promoting businesses and networking and all this stuff. While that was so much fun, and I had a lot of friends and a lot of great connections, I'd go home at night, and I couldn't help but feel trapped, right? Here I am, 21 years old, I have this dream job, I'm leading a town, so to speak, and yet there's something that's just clawing at my chest at night. And I go home and I'm just splattering paint on canvases, and I'm writing poetry, and I'm learning to play guitar, and there's just like this hunger inside of me for something real. And I remember writing in my journals, like, I just want something real. Like, what does that even mean? I don't know. And so I just kind of kept asking God, divine, hey, how do I get there? How do I get to that life that I really want? I don't even want to do PR, yet I have a degree in it. Do I have to stay this way? Am I already screwed up? Have I lost my chance, you know? So I was asking these questions, and a friend of mine walked into my office, a high school friend, and said, hey, do you want to move to Australia for a year? And I said, why not? So I quit my job and I moved to Australia for a year. We visited hostels. We stayed with people we didn't know. We stayed in a car for several weeks at a time, basically living the backpacker life. It was amazing. And most importantly, during this gap year, or whatever you want to call it, I began writing daily and painting again. And I really had this vision that I had had for several years already, that I wanted to do this full time. I wanted to be a full-time writer and a full-time painter. And I was hell-bent on making it happen during this Australia trip, right? So I'd get up early at the hostels before everyone started partying at 7 a.m. And I'd get out my laptop and I was writing, and I was, you know, trying to pitch to bigger blogs and newspapers and trying to get noticed. And yet somehow, you guys, I don't know how, but I didn't magically become a New York Times bestselling author within that year. And in fact, I didn't even make a dime on my blog. And so I went back home at the end of my year, had spent all my money on this amazing trip, and I was out of answers. I was like, I need a job. I know what I want to do, but I don't know how to make money doing it. So I took another PR job, this time as a communications specialist. This is me again, looking all professional again. And it took till about maybe my second day on the job before I realized, this is not me. This is not what I want. This is a great job with great benefits and a great salary, and everyone's really proud of me. But there's something more, right? I just knew there was something more for me. So I put my foot down and I said, this is the last one. This is the last job I do that's not aligned with my soul. And I spent hours taking courses. I hired my first coach. I really went inward and healed a lot of things spiritually, emotionally, my stinking thinking, right? I actually did a ton of mindset work, which I now have a course on because it helped me so much. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, it was the hardest 2 years of my life, but it was everything I needed to do. So when that 2 years was up, I did what any blossoming entrepreneur who wasn't making any money yet would do. I quit my job and I moved to New Zealand. I told you I was going to mention New Zealand. We have someone here with us joining us from New Zealand. So my boyfriend and I lived in New Zealand for another year. We lived out of a van. This was just last year. I used that time to launch my business. Again, more healing work and a lot of marketing and all of this stuff. Had a blast. We traveled throughout the whole country, made a lot of friends. I got back in May of this year. I sneezed, somehow accidentally, kid you not, I wrote a book. Just kind of happened. I put it on Amazon and put my design skills to good use. And suddenly I'm a #1 new release Amazon author. Which brings me to where I am today, the sparkling hippie. I'm living in California with my boyfriend, painting every day, writing every day, and inspiring others to be their most authentic, beautiful, creative souls. But I will say, you may have already noticed, it took me a while. It was a wild road back to 4-year-old me. Like this girl right here had it all figured out. I just got lost along the way and started listening to other people. And you might also have a lot in common with 4-year-old Haley. If you'll remember when you were a child, you spent hours playing and imagining and making up stories, right? It just was natural to you. I've been spending a lot of time with my boyfriend's niece, and she's 4. And every time I see her, she's got a super secret mermaid club, or, Barbie's gonna go mountain biking, and she's got all these stories just coming out of her. Like, it's not trying, it's not forced, it just happens naturally, right? And you were that way too. You had the brightest imagination. Maybe you were a rock star or a Barbie. Maybe you had a big dream of what you wanted to be when you grew up. Maybe you did want to be a doctor or a veterinarian. And maybe, just maybe, that was your greatest asset. The ability to play and imagine a life so big for yourself that you knew no fear. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and venture and say you were born an artist. You were born a creative soul. When I say artist, I don't mean a painter. I mean someone who has dreams and has visions and can create something out of nothing and does it fearlessly. You were born that way. And you're still that way. But somewhere along the way, you hit the awkward teenage phase. And then suddenly you decided that only the lucky few are considered creatives. This is one of my favorite people, John Lennon. And so we kind of put him and a couple others on a pedestal, and you think, oh, that's not me. Only certain people are creative. And we kind of get even like offended almost when someone says you're creative or you're so imaginative. And you're like, no, I'm not. I'm a professional grown-up adult. And we think people like Deepak Chopra, oh yeah, he's an author, but I could never be an author. I could never be a spiritual teacher. That's only for the lucky few. And yet I'm here to tell you that's hogwash. I don't know if there's anyone with us from Oklahoma. I'm originally an Okie. Hogwash, that's one of our Okie words. It's not true. Okay, there's not a certain amount of people who are born with this creative spark and this ability to play and have fun and create things. We're all created that way, right? And maybe right now you're feeling uninspired or stuck in your head or afraid to dream. But the reality is you're an artist. You're an artist right now. You're a creator. You're a soulful spiritual being. And you have absolutely everything inside of you that you need in order to live your biggest, brightest, most beautiful life. So what happened to this boldness we had as a child? You were so brave and so bright and so unafraid to try new things and to create things. What happened? I'm guessing, like me, you started taking a sensible path and you started working and, maybe you took a career that everyone said would make you happy because you'd make lots of money. And yet, here you are, and it just doesn't feel right. There's something inside of you still clawing at you, trying to get out. You're still an artist. You have this desire to create a better life for yourself. You have a desire to create a life that gives you meaning and fulfillment and purpose. And creativity and imagination and playtime, that's how that life is born. And we live in this world where we're rushing from job to daycare to family members and just helping everyone. And we think, I don't have time to play. I don't have time to sit and doodle and daydream. And yet the truth is, the busier and more detached from your life you are, the more you need that time. Every single one of you here were born to be an artist. You simply learned to let go of that title and the associated activities with it as you grew up, and you became less and less attached to that fun, playful, creative side of yourself. Maybe right now you are attending this conference because you're stuck in your head, right? You're just hitting your head against a wall. You want a bigger life for yourself. Maybe you want more money for yourself. You want to be more true to who you are. And yet it seems like the more you try, the more stuck you get. It's almost like you're driving a car uphill in the mud, and you get, and you fall back down, and you fall back down, and you get deeper and deeper into a hole. And you're wondering, why are you trying so hard and nothing's happening? And this is one of life's beautiful, ironic rules, right? It's actually not in the trying and the forcing. It's not in the kicking it up into high gear where we find the answers. It's actually in the letting go, in the releasing, right? It's making space around our thoughts for the magic to happen. Because when we're closed off and we're, our fists are closed, our eyes are closed, we're crunching down, trying to make something happen. We don't have time to play. We don't have time to imagine. We don't have time to dream. When you're closed off, nothing can come in. And yet when you open up, then suddenly you can receive beautiful, amazing, abundant things. It's the same reason why advertising companies have pizza parties when they're trying to get their creative juices flowing for a new campaign. They don't do this in a boardroom where everyone's like stressed and trying to push something out. No, they create a relaxing, playful environment so fun, innovative, juicy ideas can be formed. It's the same reason why Julia Cameron, who's a best-selling author on all books creativity, it's why she recommends going for a walk each day. It's one of her books actually is entitled Walking in This World, because she suggests it is one of the best tools for creativity. And actually, while I was writing this speech, I was trying to force something out and it didn't happen. I got up, I walked halfway around the block, and I had to run back because the ideas were flowing. Again, one of those silly, simple secrets of life. So why should we reclaim this natural essence, this greatest asset that you have? Before we talk about that, I want to take a participant, and let's see who has their hands raised. Do we have the raise hand tool? Oh yeah, here we are. Cool. All right, I'm gonna take Patricia. So Patricia, if you will just stay on there, you don't necessarily need to come on audio. I'm gonna perform a intuitive painting for you, Patricia. This is just a quick, fun activity. And the reason I'm showing you all this is because it shows how creativity can help us access that deeper level of our intuition, that deeper level of knowing. When we're relaxed and open and accepting to flow to God, to divine, then that juiciness can flow through us and help us see more clearly where we are. So Patricia, I have a blank piece of paper and some paints. I'm going to take a deep breath. And I'm going to ask my ego to step aside as I tune into my higher self and Patricia's higher self. And today we're going to ask, what is Patricia's greatest asset? Just give me a few seconds to paint here. And one last thing. All right, Patricia. This is your greatest asset. Means nothing, right? So what we have here is an open orange circle in the middle. To me, the orange symbolizes that authentic, heartfelt self-expression. And it's open in the middle, meaning that you are open. You're not closing yourself off. You're open to expressing your highest good. And the dark green in the middle, to me, symbolizes a deep new life. It's like a deep growth that you may be going through, you're about to go through, involving speaking your truth and speaking your highest intention. And then surrounding the orange is the yellow. Yellow in my book is the color of joy. So you might be extremely joyful in this journey, extremely joyful in your greatest asset. And then the red line at the bottom, to me, symbolizes that you are completely safe in this journey. You're completely safe to continue walking the path that you're walking on. So I wonder, is it possible if Patricia could just audio on for a second and I could just hear her response, Michelle?
Give me one moment.
Okay. I don't know if that's possible or not.
Sorry, she'll have to post the response in chat.
Okay, that's all right. So Patricia, you could just let us know in the chat, how did that resonate with you? Did anything come up for you?
Got it. She's unmuted now.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can. Hi, Patricia.
Oh, okay. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. Oh, hi. Okay. Yes. I mean, I totally can identify with that exactly at this point in my life. I am very open. That's exactly who I am. And I definitely am a very compassionate, heartfelt person. I've been a caregiver my whole life. I love caring for people and taking care of people, but I have had a major sidetrack because my mother just passed away on May 11th. Mm-hmm. And with the virus and everything going on, also, I'm unemployed, and then I got really sidetracked and just, I feel so just derailed from everything that's happened. But I know, I've been feeling lately that, yes, I need to take a new life and move forward in a very deep way, in a soulful way that my heart and my soul is yearning for.
That's wonderful.
So that was totally right on. And like you said, feeling safe. I like that because I've had a lot of fears for a long time, very long time, due to cancer and different things that happen, life threatening, and just everything, how life just throws a lot of things your way. But I always have a tendency to recover and then pick myself up and then say, need to move forward with this. And I have been scared for a long time, but I have this sense now of feeling not so fearful that I do need to take
Hmm.
that next step and get over that fear. So that was really, I'd say, very accurate to what I'm feeling, which is pretty amazing because you really never met me and don't know anything about me.
No.
So I that's pretty amazing.
Oh, well, that's awesome. I'd say you're definitely on the right track. You're following your joy and you're staying open, and you've got some new life coming in and you're safe. So take this as a positive reinforcement that you're right where you need to be.
I'm telling you, I honestly, because I was not going to click on I saw Watch Now, on
Yeah.
this today, and I only had one seminar signed up for tonight, and I clicked on one prior to you, and I wasn't really impressed with it. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to try somebody else. And I saw yours, and something just sparked me. And I said, wait a minute. Like, I moved away from it. Then I came back to it 15 minutes later. As you can see, I came in late, and I was like, I'm going to just tune into her and see if she has anything that might just
Aw.
trigger something off. So I totally believe in serendipity.
Absolutely. You're here for a reason. And how amazing that you ended up being, my volunteer.
Yes.
So cool. Well, thank you, Patricia. I'm glad you joined us, and I'm glad that resonated with you. Thanks for
Yes.
volunteering.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, how cool. All right. I'm going to go back over to sharing my screen. Um, and thank you, Rochelle, for doing the tech work for us to have Patricia join us. That was very special, very worth it. So that was just amazing. That was really cool. Thank you. And I want to get back to your greatest asset, which is just what we just spoke about. That was my creativity tuning into Patricia's highest self, and I just allowed it to flow through me. I was not thinking. As you can tell, it took about 2 minutes for me to paint that, but I allowed something higher than myself to flow through me, and you have that ability too. So why should you reclaim that ability? First of all, creativity is believing in something larger than ourselves, right? So it's asking your ego to step aside so that something honestly intangible and unexplainable, something we have no words for sometimes, right? It's allowing that thing to lead you, right? And at its finest level, creativity is trust. It's letting go of your thoughts in your head and how you think it's supposed to be and how people tell you it's supposed to be, and it's allowing something larger to flow through you. Number 2, creativity leads us to the non-physical, right? So whether you're a religious person or anti-religion or spiritual or anti-spiritual, you are in a spiritual world, right? There's so many things in this planet, in your daily life, that don't come from the physical world, right? So ideas, thoughts, your purpose, fulfillment, joy, peace, love, none of these things are rooted in the physical. And yet, for some reason, we tend to search for those things in the physical world. And so when we kind of step back and again, let go, it's like you're floating on your back. It's like when you're a child and someone starts to put you on your back in the water and you're freaking out and you're like, no, 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 I'm going to drown. I'm going to drown. And yet if you'll just relax, it's way less effort to float on your back than it is to lean forward and doggy paddle. And creativity is the exact same way. It's a lot of effort to control your life and like fit things together and try to be the perfect person and the perfect daughter and the perfect wife. And it's a lot less effort to just let go and allow things to happen. And so for me, creativity is a portal into that trust. It's a portal into those things that I can't name, those things I can't see, and yet those things that give our life so much meaning. Third, your creative power teaches you to rest and receive. So this is a tough one. We all want more money. We all want a better job. We all want a bigger house. Yet we're really terrible receivers sometimes because we think, I mean, if I were to walk up to you right now and I handed you the keys to a $500,000 home, I can almost bet you wouldn't take it on the first try. You'd say, I didn't earn that. Are you sure? I already have a nice house. I don't need that. No, thank you. You'd come up with a million reasons why you didn't deserve it. And yet sometimes the universe, not sometimes, all the time, God, the universe, divine, they're trying to bless you. They're trying to give you what you want. Your angels are with you. They're working for you. Everything is happening in your highest and best interest. And yet we have to actually learn how to receive these things. And oftentimes as an entrepreneur, some of you may be in here, some of you may just be working another job, and you're just wondering, why isn't money coming quicker? Why aren't I getting a raise quicker? Why are things not happening quicker? Well, when we have our wrists, what is the word I'm looking for? Fists. We have our hands in fists and we're clenched and closed. I can't put $1 in there. I can't put a new house in there. I can't put keys to a new car in there, because we have these old subconscious mind programmings that tell us we have to work hard to get those things. You don't just get them. We've been taught that our whole life. So when someone gives us a compliment, we deflect it. When someone gives us an opportunity, we say, oh, I don't have the time, I don't have the money. And we're constantly closing our fists to the very things we're wanting. And creativity is a way of exercising that muscle of opening up, of having an open fist. In an open fist, you can receive money, you can receive abundance, you can receive fulfillment, you can receive joy, and all the wonderful things that life has to offer. But we have to rest and relax in order to open ourselves up, right? Your body physically has to be relaxed in order to receive. And finally, number 4, creativity teaches you to trust your intuition. So much like your intuition, creativity comes from a sixth sense. It's not something that you can smell or taste. It's something that generally flows through you, and it's kind of unexplainable. We have to train ourselves, again, to receive anything, including your intuition, including internal guidance from something higher than yourself. If you've ever heard of Dr. Maxwell Maltz, he's the author of Psycho-Cybernetics, which is a fabulous, in-depth, science-based book about all of this. He says that imagination is the first key to your success mechanism. And your success mechanism is what Dr. Maltz uses to explain why some people are successful in life and others aren't. We all have a success mechanism. And the first key to using that is your imagination. Again, that greatest asset you had as a child, that creativity, that play, and that wonder. Imagination comes from play, trusting, and relaxing into something outside of yourself. It doesn't come from controlling. I'm actually reading this book right now, and this quote came up, so I had to share it. This is from the book Creating Money. It says, to expand your thinking is to develop your imagination. Your imagination is greater in its scope than you might think. It is the closest link to your soul. It is not bound by your past programs, beliefs, and fears. Imagination was given to you so you could transcend your physical world. It gives you the ability to step outside of your personal limits and unleash your greatest potential. Does that sound like 4-year-old you? Sounds like 4-year-old me. So how do we develop this gift? So you want to get back to that playful child who just loves and gives and receives and doesn't have a care in the world. How do we get back to that creative, childlike place? I already showed you one idea. That was with my painting, and that's just learning to exercise that skill of just receiving intuitive guidance, receiving creative ideas, all of those things. You can also just take simple baby steps. Make time for play. Pick up a book on a topic you've never read about before. Visit a museum. Traveling really opens up your mind and allows you to think in a different way. You can spend time with other people who are increasing their creative gifts. So even if you've never picked up a paintbrush before, go check out a painting class at your local library or wherever. I guarantee you will meet some interesting people who are like you, trying to develop this skill, wondering what it's about, trying to explain it. It's a good way to work into this. And this is just a graph. I'm not going to go through it, but it's on my website as a blog post if you're interested. It's a fun little printout. 6 ways to increase your creativity. But the bottom line of all this is you can't continue to live your life like a machine. Society says X plus Y equals happiness. And so we keep punching in the formula they're giving us, and we're punching it in, and we're not getting what we're supposed to be getting. And so we get frustrated and we punch it in again, and we still don't get what we want to get. So why not, instead of continuing to bang your head against the wall, try opening up, try going a different route, try dreaming. What would be your biggest, brightest, boldest dream for yourself? If money were no object, if you had no one to support, if you had no geographical bounds, if you had no limits whatsoever, no fears, what would your life bring? What would that dream look like? What would you do? The sky's the limit. You're not charged to dream. You're not held up to anything if you have a dream. And yet we don't even allow ourselves the time to dream. So I'm encouraging you today, spend some time dreaming. What would your dream life look like? And get big. Get as big as you can, because no one can dream a big life for you but you. And lastly, I have another quote from Creating Money. Unlimited thinking is more than thinking big. It is thinking creatively. It is allowing yourself to imagine having all that you might have. Be open to pleasant surprises, for your higher self may bring you what you want in a bigger and better way than you thought possible. Trust that you will receive whatever is perfect for you to have. And that's my spiel. I'll open it up for questions and answers. If you guys have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. If there was something that inspired you, or just anything you have to say. How did you get started? Patricia asked, how did you get started on your journey and what inspired you? Good question. I think for me, it was even at like age 16, I knew I could see myself following the crowd and turning my back on my true essence. And the inspiration, though, it's just the little steps along the way. It's those little sparks of joy, that curiosity, like, what would happen if I took a painting class? Even though that's not my career and I'm not going to make a living on it, as they all told me. What if I took a painting class? You know, I've always liked painting, but I dropped it. So it's just following those little breadcrumbs of joy, right? What is interesting to you right now, Patricia? Something that's kind of piqued your curiosity, something that maybe popped up while you were scrolling and you're just curious about learning more. That's the best way to kind of get started, and just keep following that inspiration. That's how you're going to happen upon your purpose, really. So good question. Anybody else have questions? I did want to say too, go ahead and use the Q&A. If you have a question, you can pop it in there. But I also wanted to say I would love to connect with you all more personally. You can find me on Instagram at The Sparkling Hippie. My website's thesparklinghippie.com, and I'm on Facebook as well. So if you enjoyed this, let me know, reach out. I'd love to chat with you. And also, I have a podcast too. So you can find more of me there. And if one more question from Soraya. Hi, Soraya. How do you personally strengthen your intuition and connection with divine? Lots of different ways. I journal every morning. I do a lot of intuitive journaling. My painting is very connected to divine. And of course, meditation. You cannot get enough meditation. But I think the biggest thing is just making time for that spiritual space every day. First thing in the morning, I get up before anyone else in the house. And if it's 5 minutes, that's better than nothing. Just take that time for yourself and, make it happen. Lynette, I was invited to a career panel of graduates from a school that I went to. The big takeaway that stuck with me on where to go with your career was to trust your intuition. That is what I am doing as my business is evolving. That is beautiful, Lynette. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's absolutely correct. Just trust your intuition. That is your biggest gift in life. I mean, that's hand in hand with creativity. They're both about receiving. They're both about following that divine lead, right? Something that you can't logically make sense of, and yet there's an inner knowing that's telling you what to do. So thank you. Good question. And hey, Haley Cortecas. I actually know her, her and Soraya. How did you learn to trust your intuition? Oh, get out of your head, get out of your head, get out of your head. That's the biggest thing I can say. I think intuition and creativity, it's all about dropping from the head down into the body. How I do this, I feel the color yellow coming out. I need to pick up the color yellow. I felt the color orange calling me. It's not something I was thinking, what would look good here? What would look good there? It's something I can feel intuitively. And that's a physical example of what we're doing in our daily lives, right? We're feeling into our intuition. We're asking for guidance. We're open, staying open, and not just trying to force our way into a box because everyone says that box is supposed to work. So good question, Haley. And again, Soraya, thank you for your question as well. And I know we are out of time, but thank you all so much for being here. This has been super fun. It's been a joy. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the Guidely conference.